recording?
It says recording.
Oh, right now? Really?
I'll cut this part off.
Welcome.
Okay. I'll cut it off. Don't worry.
Okay. Or people can just see us being hens. This is how we are in our natural habitat for sure. Just checking in with one another and making sure all cylinders are rolling.
Hello.
Hey. I wonder if that's my buddy, Deidre.
Your buddy?
Yeah.
Are you Jennifer's buddy, Deidre?
Beautiful. So we are gathered here today because we had planned to do one conversation, I guess, a month ago, a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about authenticity, personal excellence. Is that what we went into? And the party just kept going, and we had to cut it off. So we promised that we would come back and continue the conversation. So that's why we're here today, and we're so happy you're here today. We welcome you, or if you're watching the recording, welcome to Soul Sistahs Unplugged. So should we just dive right in?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So today on our agenda, we have that we are going to talk about practice versus performance. You already have me queued up in the right way. And personal excellence versus service, which of course we're going to get into that. And maybe we'll also touch on self-care and soul care. So yeah, let's dive in. So practice versus performance. Who wants to just riff on that? Or do I need to set it up?
I can set it up, I guess.
Okay.
So last time we talked about showing up as our authentic selves online, in our businesses, and how exactly you do that, because you don't want to be, because you're a different person in every sphere of your life, so what does it mean to show up authentically?
Right.
So the question of practice versus performance, to me, I actually learned about in a blog post that I read. I'm a musician, for folks who are new.
Very much so.
In one side of my life, and on the other side of my life, I do branding and graphic design. But on the musician side, I was reading this blog post about when you're practicing. Let's say you're a pianist and you're practicing for performance. You want to turn that perfectionistic part of you up. It's okay to be like neurotic and like nitpicky about that stuff when you're in the practice zone. But then when you get to the recital, you gotta put that back there. Put the perfectionistic part of you on the back seat, because during a performance, it's not about being perfect. It's about
Performing.
Yeah, performing and letting whatever you're doing. So if you're a pianist, letting the music flow through you and not worrying about, or letting the soul of the music flow through you and not worrying about
the technical.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mechanics. Yeah.
Right.
Do you have thoughts on that, Shay?
I just agree. One, as a pianist or former pianist of 18 years, right?
Oh, really?
And so I remember, the moment I started thinking, we have a concert every May, get our songs in September, right? The more advanced the more in advance you got your songs. But somehow I didn't learn mine until April. For whatever reason. I was getting it, but I was just trying too hard. And it was only as it got closer then I realized, you know what, I just had to surrender. And I think that's when my surrender started happening. And my piano teacher said, oh, you just like to perform under pressure. But I don't think that's what it was. I just realized it's getting ready to happen whether I like it or not. And if I can just let it go, it's just going to have to be okay. And when I did, I actually performed better. So I can totally see that. And it definitely is about engaging in the soul of whatever the activity is. Because there is a direction or a directive energy that guides us. And sometimes it's much better than when we practice. And I feel like when we, or at least for myself, when I'm so much in my mind and the technicality, I shut down some of those authentic gifts that come through.
Yeah.
So you're saying so many things. Surrender, you said performing under pressure, and then was it the soul? There's just so many things I was like, no. But I don't remember the directive. I was just trying to bookmark.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say. So then, what does for our folks who are listening that are coaches or therapists or design, like in your business, how does this apply? Like, what is the practice part? Where can you allow your level of personal excellence or your perfectionism to run rampant? And then when do you need to turn it off and perform? Like, what's the line? I wonder, Deirdre, I don't know if you're interested in participating and sharing with us maybe where you find yourself, find perfectionism or like, I'm not good enough at this yet, I can't show it to anybody, where you let that stop you. If you do, you can just type in the chat if you have any thoughts, or feel free to unmute yourself too by clicking on the microphone in the bottom left corner of your Zoom screen and just jump in.
Go ahead.
Well, I just noticed something. Speaking of microphone, that looks like our microphone is X, or is that for Deirdre's?
No, that's Deirdre's.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Ours is green. See, I'm gonna approach the screen. It's right there.
Okay, cool. I was like, speaking of, all right, great. So we just know Deirdre remains.
I was gonna say, so for teachers, I'm gonna use this even like for teachers. So when I'm training teachers, so we have our lesson plans, we have our curriculum, we have standards we have to meet, we have deliverables we have to achieve, and all of these things. And sometimes, especially with new teachers, or even sometimes seasoned teachers, they have like a really rigorous way that they have to do stuff. Sometimes, however, you have to let it go. You really have to allow the experience that is happening in that moment to be the director. And I find that, and that to me also is when we let the authentic, organic flow happen. So it doesn't mean that we kick the standards out. It doesn't mean that I'm not in tune with the goals are, but there has to be some flexibility in the flow, right? And so for teachers, it's performing. We're up there and it's, and they're like, we have to do this, we have to do that. And then sometimes I'm like, but that may not be what's happening. That may not be what's happening with your students or your clients. And you may come in with one agenda,
For sure.
right? And then something happens in that process and there's a different flow organically. And what I find is that when people have to stick to this, like, no, we have to do it this way, or this is what it's supposed to be, then we're shutting down and disrupting the flow of, I was gonna say prosperity, gifts, all of that.
Whatever is to be flowing.
So there's beauty in that, right? That's what they call it, even like beauty in chaos, right?
Yeah. What you're describing to me is definitely the idea of mastery, though. When you learn the way, and then you've mastered it enough that you can let it go, and then you can be really responsive to what shows up. But you wouldn't be as skilled at it if you weren't trained well. Sometimes.
Which is where I think the practice comes in, but you only master by doing.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So it may not always be perfect, but you also just have to trust.
Right. Trust.
Like, how do I engage in the flow? How do I engage in, like what you said, the soul of the moment, or the soul of that session, or the soul of what's happening, because there is a divine wisdom in that. And so there is a different conversation happening underneath whatever conversation we're having with our clients or our students. Or whomever.
That makes me, just because we were just talking about salsa, same thing, like when you go to salsa class, it's like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. But then when you go to like those Havana night spots, like some people hardly step, or they're so nuanced and it's so soulful though, but they're not doing 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 at all, but they had to, first,
Oh my gosh, that's why I can't dance salsa. Because that's like why I hate it. It's because I'm like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7. Then I get to the club and everyone's like,
right,
I
don't know what you're doing.
Let go. I could write a book on like what salsa taught me about life and letting go. And
you just changed my life.
And especially with salsa, because when you're stiff, not only do you mess up your partner, everyone's fumbling and tumbling and everything. And
Good
because,
metaphor.
I'm so used to leading, salsa taught me how to follow.
Amen. Me
Because
too.
I was like,
I know how to do this.
So I had to learn how to follow, and it wasn't easy.
For sure. Me too. For sure. There's a book in there. What else was I gonna say? Well, with coaching, right? I definitely feel that way. I definitely have an agenda for my sessions so that the client feels safe, right? So it's not like, well, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to talk about? Like I definitely have an agenda and know what was up, the week before and what we're working on. And then though on the call, I allow for whatever shows up. I'm a guide, but it's also, I have no idea what's going on, like what's going to happen on the call. So I allow for space for that and to be able to respond in the moment, right? And then the moment there might be, if there's usually a moment, women that, we're in business and we have lives and usually things come up and then it's like, okay, well, I'm good there. Then it's like, okay, I also know where to guide us back, in a place. So able to have the structure and then also able to let it go and be in the moment,
which I'll remind you when you have your next speaking gig.
Next question. No, I'm just kidding. But I will say for perfectionism, I personally have issue with the word perfectionism. I don't agree with it. And I think that since there is no metric for what is perfect, that it is, I even have a talk about this, but that it's a saboteur to me, and I do think artistry is kind of different. And I know what is being said where it's like, you really need to hone your craft. There is a technical piece, there are mechanics, and to truly like own that, you do need to be like that technical. So I know like that's where they're saying perfectionism, but just I feel like in the personal development world, I'm always like, don't say perfect or perfectionist because we're already so apt to find how we're not enough or what's wrong. And it's such a sneaky saboteur to me because it's like, well, I'm a perfectionist, but if there was a metric for perfect, that'd be one thing, but there's not. There's what you deem perfect is different than what I would deem perfect. And so it's sneaky in that way that you're striving for this thing that doesn't exist, and it can keep you really, really trapped and spinning your wheels. And it's just like a sexy one because it feels like, oh, I'm just like really, particular about what I do. But I have found in my work that it's where people don't grow. Yeah. It's where they hide out in a really cool way because it's like, well, I'm a perfectionist, but then they never launch or they never go for it. They never. So that's my only thing about the word perfection.
Yeah, that's true.
And I've shared this with you guys, but one of my favorite quotes about perfection is nothing but fear wearing high heels.
Oh, totally. Right? Yeah.
Because I never heard that. It's dressed up, right? So you're right.
It's a good one.
I'm like, yeah, fear wearing high heels. It looks, as you said, it sounds good. Or people have used it. And then even in professional development and interviews, like for years, people say, well, I'm a perfectionist. Well, now we're like, well, what does that mean for you? Because that's no longer acceptable now.
Oh yeah,
right?
Work for us.
Right. It would be like, what does that mean? And it's like, oh. And it is. It's usually
you don't meet deadlines because you're trying to get it perfect because that's not going to work.
So you don't produce.
Right.
So So you're right. And so definitely in professional development, it is about hiding out. And I think also for me in performing, because I can also hide out. I can't accept the invitation to do something because I haven't achieved it. I can't accept whatever to be on stage because I'm not there yet. It's just a really convenient way for me to continue not to be visible.
Yeah.
And be accountable to my gifts.
Yeah.
What's the antidote to it then?
Action always.
Yep. Just do it. Yep. Just do it.
Just do it. And I think from a musician is a good, analogy, but it is for everyone that there is something about the respect of your craft. And I feel like that's what the blog is saying. Like, be perfectionist. Like, be in your room and like whatever, like practice, do it again until your fingers bleed, like that, and it could be with speaking because anything with like, practice makes improvement. So there is a respect of not always winging it, always flying by the seat of your pants, and that's what it's talking about.
Knowing what you create a structure for your coaches or for your clients.
Yeah.
Knowing what that structure is.
And like what's called for professionally, but then
add little spices here and there and switch it up. And then sometimes you just don't do well. I mean, I remember in one of my concerts, I did terribly. I was like, oh my gosh, that was horrible. Or what, But had I stopped, that would have been worse. I just had to keep going. And I had to build that strength to to just continue to move forward, even if I'm not doing according to my standards. And one of the things I liked that you had shared with that is that as a pianist, I think you said some of the experts were listening to, if I remember correctly, pianists who had made mistakes in their performance, but they didn't even catch most of them.
Yeah.
Right. So our mistakes are always bigger than what we make them to be.
For sure.
So
yeah. Even if a panel of experts on what you're doing are like going through what you're doing, they only catch like 7%.
Exactly.
So mistakes.
Hello.
Hey.
Can you hear me? Hey. Hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Okay.
Hi. I just wanted to say hello.
What's up?
Hi.
So this is it's Buddy's short for accountability buddy. We joined forces in B school.
Yeah.
In
2013. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we meet each other's lives, which has been really cool.
Yeah.
Talking about, you definitely can speak on too, because this is like what we help each other through, I feel.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What are
So I was just thinking about, posting blogs and how I tend to get really stuck in that area. And so one thing that has helped me with my perfectionism in that area is to have a proofreader. So I get out of my own head and I get out of my own way, and I have a second pair of eyes looking at my work. And that has been really affirmative for me. So I just wanted to add that to what you guys were talking about, is just to have someone else that can look at your work and tell you whether or not, it's good, or if it needs improvement. And if it needs improvement, then you go back to the drawing board and you improve and you keep working at it until you feel like, you're ready to put it out there. So
what I'm hearing from that too is like, and you're just saying when you're in your head, it's critical. And so by doing that, it gives you an opportunity to get outside of yourself and like let somebody else, a trusted individual who wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you're great, it's fine, but it's a professional, but it's taking it out of your own head and really saying, is this good enough to go out in the world?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Then I imagine you can focus on like the core, like the message and like what you really want folks to get out of it, rather than like the little perfection.
Yeah. And one thing that Marie Forleo mentions, she said that you shouldn't write and edit at the same time. So do one or the other. So with my blog writing, it's like, no, I'm just going to write. I'm not going to try to edit this at the same time. I'm going to write it, and then I'm going to send it to my proofreader and have them edit it for me. And that's that. So
you're just a brilliant content creator.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay.
Where can we find you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear you. Let me turn the volume up a little bit. I'm having some technical difficulties, but so my website is livelanguagela.com, and I teach English to international professionals. That's what I do. That's my business.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So, and I just redid my website just recently. So, again, Jennifer's laughing because she knows me with the.
Well, everyone can mention their website. We're talking about perfectionism because that's another place we get where it's like, oh, it's not
website shame.
We never feel done with our websites, right?
Yeah.
We all have them out there, and so that's the important part. Versus, there's a slew of people who haven't launched, aren't serving because the website's not done.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good segue, because the next thing is personal excellence versus service. So it already goes from the perfectionist conversation for me, because when we're talking about performance, and then a lot of our performance is service, right? For me, that's that intersection where you have personal excellence, and I think we're all saying, like, you don't always have to be perfectionist, but we're also not winging it. We're also not putting just anything out there. And so where's the line of personal excellence and how you want it to be, but then also being in service where you need your website up so people can find you, or you got to just go speak because you have a message, whether it's in the right structure or not. But I think so strongly.
Yeah.
Right? So who wants to speak on that? Personal excellence versus service.
Can I just say something
Sure.
that that reminded me when Deidre was speaking? I also wanted to just say sometimes we try to become perfectionists over things we don't need to. So we do need to learn how to delegate or contract out or something like that, especially for people who are just starting out or even just still current business owners. Like feel like you have to be the perfectionist and the expert in everything.
Such a good point.
Just so that
Yeah. That's me. I'm like the jack of all trades, I guess you could say. I try to do everything myself, and it's such a hindrance to my business and just to my personal self-care as well, because I get burnt out trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Oh goodness. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you for sharing, buddy.
Yes.
Absolutely. This is a great discussion. Great conversation.
I wanted to say hello to Celery too. I saw you pop up.
Hey.
You
Joined us last time, right?
Yep.
Yep. You guys can turn on your videos, right?
Yeah, if you
Okay.
feel like it, you
If
can
you
turn
want.
on your video. You can turn on your audio and jump in whenever. This is
Whatever you want.
unscripted flow.
If I wasn't leading today, I would be participating sans video. If I was participating, that's real, so understood.
Yeah, we were segueing into the next one. I had to.
That was such an important point. Thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, it's still the same thing, and we can even piggyback off of that conundrum of like, okay, you're starting out your bootstrapping. Being bootleg. Like at what point, sometimes that's the reality where you do have to wear many hats, and like when you let it go, and it's the same thing because that's where I got the clue to delegate was I wasn't being great at a lot of stuff, and I needed a hand off, and I wasn't being of service, right? And that's where that made sense for me was that personal excellence versus service, and so, and I feel like. So here I just have the note, like we have our personal standards, don't let them get in the way of don't let them get in the way of service. So
yes.
How do you resolve that just within yourself? And again, I think it is really more about perfectionism versus service, I think, as we boil it down of when you let it go, how does service tie into when you make that decision? For sure, for me, I do things like out of character when it's like, oh, but I'm not in service. So I would still be wearing all the hats if it was just me and I'd be tired. That wouldn't be enough for me to stop, I don't think, But when I realized, like, well, I can't get to an email fast enough and I couldn't get to this fast enough and I don't set this up, as efficiently as someone else who does this all day does, I'm in more service, and that's when I choose it versus being the doer, ambitious Capricorn. So for me, service is a real... there's juice there for me. Even this, it's like, okay, 5 o'clock, just got back from vacation, it's like, it's because I think someone will get something out of it, and that's why it matters to do it.
Yeah.
So, I don't feel like I'm like personally excellent. Right, exactly right now. But, we're talking about the eclipse, and there's Mercury retrograde and feeling kind of off. So, but it's like, well, it doesn't matter because I'd rather be in service than perfect.
Service, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what about you?
One thing, like one area where that's coming up for me really strongly right now is, for me personally, trying to figure out how to plug into all this, like all the stuff that's going on in the news with Nazis and like people that hate me.
Yeah.
And not just wanting to stay in my cloistered, like literally stay at home all day working because I work from home. And I could just stay in this bubble for the rest of my life. And the perfectionistic side of me is like, there's got to be like the perfect way to show up. There's like, because there's so many different ways that people can contribute and act and try to make a difference, but that part of me that like was like a really neurotic student in school is like, there's a right answer. I need to know what it is before I take action,
before you move,
or somebody's going to criticize me for it. But there isn't. there isn't a right action. If there was one right thing, we probably would have
stumbled upon that.
figured it out by
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
So yeah, that's where it's coming up for me right now, is like not to let my brain or fear or like excuses or like me wanting to protect myself get in the way of this.
I think you bringing up the word just like getting criticism or criticizing yourself is like the hidden thread through these things. It's like, what's behind it? Like perfectionist, why? You know, personal excellence, like what is that about? It is about either critical of oneself or fearing being critiqued by the outside world. For sure.
Yeah.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, because they're kind of like all together. We could move on to self-care because Deidre brought up something. What was that point? And I was like, put a pin in that where,
try to do all the
everything.
things. Yeah. And be good at it.
Was getting in the way of self-care. And that was something else we were going to talk about was self-care. What does that look like to you, people listening? And what does that look like to us? Did you want to jump on or do you want to give it to the hand it off?
We hand it off.
Okay, so what does self-care mean to you listening, Deirdre, or is it Sayori? You can also unmute yourself and join the conversation.
I see your chat though, sorry.
This is like an ongoing discovery for me. It's part of it is just listening to my intuition, listening to my body, and just heeding the call of whatever it is I need in that particular moment. So yeah, right now I'm making some tea, so that's part of my self-care. But yeah, it just and it changes each day, you know. My needs are different each day, but really it's about just unplugging and which is walking away from the computer, meditating. I love to meditate. That's one really good thing that I do for myself is I do Kundalini yoga. So I do my mantras and I meditate. Yeah, so that's all I want to add right now.
Okay. So meditation, getting away from the computer.
Yes. Taking walks, getting out in nature. Yeah.
Making tea. We feel like we're here too. That's fun. Chat box also, anyone can just contribute what does self-care look like for them in particular. I know for me, the flavor of self-care usually is in the form of whatever it is that Deidre said is slowing down. You know, that's what shows up for me. Where that's the flavor of my self-care. It's like slow down and allow or receive. Like,
that's good. Receive. Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Me too.
Yeah.
And that looks a lot of different ways, but taking time for myself in the morning, you know, meditating for sure, getting out in nature, same thing, but detaching like the guilt that I should be producing or doing. Again, like that's how mine is framed, you know, of guilt free, even just like going on vacation this week and just being super indulgent and like no schedule and
yeah.
Yeah,
because don't you find that? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Don't you find that we go hard for our clients, right? Like I give my all, but then when it comes to me, I'm just so chintzy. I'm stingy with myself, you know.
Yeah.
And this just cannot go on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sour said something in the chat. Maybe better than mine.
I'm
just gonna approach
it.
Yeah, I'm still struggling to do self-care, but having time alone and take the hike on the beach are important.
Yeah.
Beach. And so are in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, it's right here. All California girls here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like what Deidre said, that it's sometimes changing. So I feel like sometimes So when my client will say, well, I didn't get to do the self-care practice, et cetera, et cetera. Well, it changes sometimes according to the needs. So I think you're right. There's a principle of like slowing down.
Mm-hmm.
And even for me, even in the middle of doing that training, I find myself practicing self-care where I just in that moment have to slow down, take a breath, and make time to plug in. Because I think it easily unplug myself. At least that feels like I do. I don't know if I ever unplug myself. I snatch out the cord and everything. And so sometimes it looks different daily. And I think it's important to be able to pivot.
I think so, yeah.
And not get attached to, I didn't do my blah, 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 blah. I mean, I think it's good to have your schedule, but if it shifts and you aren't able to, then I'm feeling guilty that they didn't do it. And
the guilt.
Yeah.
It's true. In the summer, for example, like I do like to get up and meditate, like go into like my little nook and meditate. But in the summer, I find sometimes I just have like a different energy. So I need to go out and like walk, you know, and that's kind of my meditation. Active. And so it's not like sitting and lighting a candle. So it looks different.
Yeah, absolutely.
What else was I going to say about self-care? Oh, I just feel like the theme of guilt is important, just like how criticism was like a through line of that perfectionism thing and serving the personal excellence. I think, at least with women, that the self-care thing is like there's guilt attached, you know, where even if you do take time or you do indulge, you do whatever, it still can't always be, it's not always like fully self-care or like we have here, soul care, you can talk about is because even if you're like getting your nails done or you know taking time away from your computer, if it's riddled with guilt, you really haven't filled your cup. Not where you're looking at your phone still. Yeah. You know, oh my gosh.
No, it can look like self-care. Like you show up to the nail salon, but
can I confess?
Yes.
I could write a book on like letting go and learning to lead from salsa or learning to whatever surrender. Woo! So I'm working on it. But the nail salon was another one because it was the same thing. Like you're like reading all these self-care blogs and it's like get a manicure, treat yourself. You know, self-care is important. So I'm like, okay, sure, fine. But I would be totally still trying to work, you know, and I'm getting like a manicure, you know, she's like, put your foot up, you know, but I'm not paying attention.
Engaged.
And I'm like, oh, but I need my fingers. And I was like, you are not.
That is not.
You're not present. The part of self-care that you have to be present to the practice.
Present. Yeah.
I was still working. I was very much. And I mean, I'm so close to the ladies though at the place I go to now because they're just like, because I felt like a wildebeest being tied down. I was like, I need my hands, you know, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, sure, because I got it tight. They're like, no, we keep it long. We keep it long. But it was a total, I would just see myself like feeling tied down. And it's like, girl, you can't get into it this relax. Right.
Yeah. Maybe that goes back to having difficulty receiving. You were talking about receiving?
For sure.
Yeah. It's like a little resistance there.
It is. Big time. Just having to see, like, you've ever had that out-of-body experience where you see yourself and it's like, no.
Yeah.
Resisting, you know? And so, just, using
Wow.
I was the poster child for that. So yeah, do we want to talk about soul care versus self-care?
Go ahead. We can.
Well, I mean, I just feel like that it is when I feel like the soul care is the nurturing the vessel, you know, that is carrying out your life and just making sure again that you're not just going through the motions and that you are truly filled up. And so I feel like that is truly when it looks different. Because sometimes I'm filled up being around people, and sometimes I definitely need my me time for it. Just like a simple example, that my soul gets fed in different ways at different times. You know, so it is really about. I just think this is kind of full circle is going back to your authentic self. Like when are you able to be your true authentic self? When you're depleted, when you're shooting. That is when you're out of your element, you're out of your authentic self. And when your cup is full and you're serving from your overflow, I feel like that is truly when you can show up and be your authentic self. And then whatever you need in that moment might look different.
I'm realizing now that for soul care.
Right.
No, you already know.
Okay. Wait, what did you say? I was like the Jennifer's Cray.
I'm realizing now. So everyone's always talking about like saying no is self-care, and now I'm just like really realizing now what that means.
Talk to us about it.
So for soul care, self-care, or for soul care, I just bought a bunch of books on Monday.
Cool.
I haven't bought books in 3 years.
I see Audra Lord over
Audra
there.
Lord,
Oh my gosh.
I have the Book of Joy by the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So I bought a bunch of books, and I realized like that's like something active I'm doing to feed my soul, building that information. But I also have to stop. Like I realized like reading the news is depleting.
Yeah.
So that's one way of saying no. Like
Gotcha.
so self-care isn't just doing stuff. It's also
Undoing.
Yeah, undoing.
Yeah.
The boundary.
Yeah. And I just
Absolutely.
realized that hard
Great point.
today.
I mean, that is a whole webinar on the power of no.
Yeah, because even if I was reading and still doing all the things that deplete me, it's like not as powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, it's about being filled up, and if you're spread thin, the message doesn't land the same way. You can't receive it the same way. You're not able to live it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not that I should never do things that deplete me, because I don't want to live in a bubble, but reading the news for 3 hours before I go to bed is unnecessary.
For sure.
Yeah. That isn't 3 hours.
But even before
Well,
going to bed, right?
it's so sensational. I know that before bed, or right when you wake up, or yeah, but I mean, it's made to really draw you in. So my plan to just check in.
It's like,
right.
3 times longer.
Exactly.
Yeah, it happens.
And this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's all take a look around the news about how to schedule, how to structure our websites and blog posts.
Yeah. And
So-
headlines. Right?
So we can
Recurring.
fill,
Keep a message going. Absolutely.
So we fill the world with.
For sure.
I think as heart-centered entrepreneurs, people that care about the world, that care about service, I do think that that's an important conversation to have. And to me, that's tied to service. Of like, where do you stay informed? Where do you? And this could be with anything. Like again, it's like, staying informed with the news or working or whatever. But at some point, it takes you out where you can no longer be of service to your clients, to your friends, to your family. And so it's not about being Pollyanna-ish, but it is about soul care, where you have to be sure that you're okay, so that you can then go on and move in the world how you move. And I just do think that's an important distinction to make for us on the line, us here in this room, because we're empaths here. And I don't know if anyone else wants to speak on that, just in the chat or unmute yourself.
Tracy joined us.
Hey, Tracy.
Hi, Tracy. I owe you an email.
Absolutely, says someone, and yes, no worries. Of just like, what is it called? Resolving how you deal with. Even if right now, there's the news, but then there's also like all the marketing emails or like all the information. We're in the information age, and a lot of us are teachers of some kind. And so it's like, when do you stop the learning and then just you say, I'm enough? You can spread yourself thin that way too.
Yeah.
I think I told someone, I said, I should be able to live off the interest of all the classes I've taken. I could just live off the interest of that. I should be okay. Not that I don't mind, but you know what I'm saying.
It's true. There's a lot. There's,
I can live from that for a little bit. Yep, for sure. So
and I think it full circle again of when we talk about the mastery, and you do study technique, you get information, you educate yourself. But then comes a point, whether it's once a day or it's you do like 3 months out of the year where you learn and then the rest you serve. But there is a point of performance where it's like, I trust that I know enough, whether I put it in my head or I'm connected and I'm with the flow. But there does come a time where it's like, you don't need to be ingesting and it is just performance time and trust and surrender. So, it sounds like that's part of soul care too.
Surrendering to that part of you that was really burning to do something and contribute in that way.
Yeah. I like it. Cool.
I love it.
All right. Anything else? What else? Anyone have anything to add? Since people have hopped on, I don't know. I was going to do a review, but I don't know if that's doing too much.
We could do our little.
All right.
What is it that we're walking away with today? Like, what are our points that we're walking away with? Deidre had some good things as well, but what's our cores?
Our core points have been, or like takeaways.
Like the takeaways.
What we've been,
we're going to carry within us.
Yes, as we go forth. There was, the idea of perfectionism and just, does it exist? Where is there space for it? Where is there not? And whatever your personal takeaway was with that. But what was I saying about, and just like the antidote to that is action. You know,
and having a second pair of eyes, I thought was helpful.
Getting outside of your head.
Yes, yeah.
I guess like not fearing the criticism, because that is the thing, the silent saboteur that keeps us up. So being able to kind of shine a flashlight on that will help with that. What else? Service.
It sounds like that one of the takeaways is like isolation is not good for you, right? Because it's like you get, Peter was saying she can provide it to somebody else. And we mentioned connection, or connecting with somebody else, another part of but it's like perfectionism, personal excellence, like those are very
like inward or something,
like
self, what is it, almost self-centered, just centered on oneself, which there's a time for that, but just not letting it suffocate you or sabotage your effort. So that's a good that's a good insight that I have in mind. And then the idea of surrender, letting go, let the magic happen, let the flow be in the soul moment of the moment, just allowing that. But also honing your craft, we're not out here winging it. It is about taking the time to learn or study or whatever day. Just not taking it so far that you're going into not enough space and you're not putting it out there to the world because it's not good enough or you're not good enough. And then soul care. Self-care to get you on the path of soul care, and really just the idea of not feeling guilty for taking care of yourself or receiving, to be present, to really allow.
Whatever you're doing for self-care.
And
be flexible with it.
Flexible. And then it'll look different at different moments, and that's okay, right?
Absolutely.
Anything else? Any other highlights or
what you're watching?
And you can even talk about how we would move, how we'll move through our week differently, having had the conversation.
Whoa, okay. Are you leading it? Because
No, I'm just dropping it.
He's
dropping it. Anyone in the chat box?
Well, this gathering has been a real soul nurturing event for me. I'm really glad that I came on and spoke with you ladies. So this is part of my self-care.
Nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will say for me this week, I've already started it, but part of my soul care actually is hanging out in the discomfort. Making certain choices and taking certain actions that are not necessarily, they honor me,
Yeah.
right? And they may, I don't say go against, they may go against what people think, but they're really in sync with me. And they're also in sync with my intention. But sometimes I can find myself questioning or feeling uncomfortable until I really stretch out in it. And so I'm learning sometimes that soul care is a little uncomfortable.
Well, you hit on that. Like, it doesn't always have to be comfortable. Or you're just saying, like,
I don't need to be happy all the time.
You know,
and then this came up, with the authenticity conversation. Where like, I'm okay. People aren't okay with it.
People aren't okay.
Yeah,
So I'm having to do I'm exercising certain muscles, and I am standing in a certain way, and it's like, okay. And I know without a doubt, it's okay. As long as they're also understanding that it's okay to be uncomfortable. Soul care is just like, oh, it's so easy
and yummy,
right?
It should feel good. That's how you know it's your soul
right. That's how you know it. But growth and nurturing,
that's a good point.
it's sometimes a little uncomfortable.
And
and being present in that,
and I'm just like, I'm just gonna be present in it. And thank you, Nikki, because I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna be present in it. But the peace comes that I'm doing exactly what I know I'm supposed to do. Like, there's a peace even in the midst of that.
Yeah.
On
really
point.
I just also feel like, again, like in the personal development world, it's like, go with your ease, or there is that picture painted of like, it should feel easy, it should feel good all the time. And I think what you're highlighting is like, it should feel on purpose and in alignment,
right?
But it doesn't necessarily always feel like fuzzy bunny slippers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Night out.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
you for sharing. That's my takeaway too.
We're all gonna be uncomfortable this week. If that's it, I mean, I love it. If that's what it is.
Yeah. No, because I'm realizing now that I could be using self-care to numb that feeling.
What? This is what we're doing in the wrap up?
Self-care to numb. Okay. Come on, we have to put that down.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, like, I'm gonna go watch my favorite TV show instead of feel all these things.
Wow.
I really be present and feel like the things because then it inspires me to do different things.
Yeah. So that's where I am this week. Me and Nikki sounds like together, maybe.
In the muckety muck.
I guess me too. I mean, and this is like we're talking about a cleanse, everything. I definitely am feeling like a shift, which I always do. August, September, it's like my New Year's.
Right.
And so just examining of like, okay, if you're creating this or this is what you're stepping into, what does that look like? And I'm seeing habits and things like need to change. And so I'm like, oh, but that's not gonna be fun. That's not gonna be comfortable. Or again, totally. And I didn't even realize this just now, like thinking about how it's gonna inconvenience someone else. And so I'm like, that gives me pause, even though it's like, what? If you're talking about your own personal excellence, why are you even calling in what someone else would think about it? So stepping into like, well, this is gonna not be as fun, but just being committed to what I'm called to do and just what I need to do to show up as my best version, for what the next chapter is. And so
Nikki and I working journey.
Me too. Right. I'm gonna be with you in discomfort.
Sorry, or Tracy commit to something they want to do this week after this talk. You can just type it in the chat and I'll jump in and read that. Why don't you type it? So, shall we wrap? Ooh, yeah, it's 5:49.
This is good.
Call to action. You want to do it?
Okay. So, thank you all
type anything?
for coming today. We love this. Well, one, if nobody was here, we'd have this level of fun and so many types of things. But when people show up live and we get to all be together, it's just even that much fun.
It is. So thank you for being here. Anywhere.
So,
you want me to read?
Yeah.
So I have a work retreat at my colleague's house, and I am looking forward to it. She has a pool. Thank you, ladies. That was
Yay.
Sayori.
Oh, a pool.
Yeah, pool has self-care written
All
all
right.
over it.
Love it.
We need a pool.
In a retreat, yeah.
Mhm. You do?
Yeah. You gotta
Yay.
find a local pool.
Okay.
Okay, so wrapping up. So Jennifer and there's somebody else.
Sorry that I got here late. That's okay. I look forward to rewatching, but I love Soul Care versus Self Care. That will be part of my Soul Care.
All right.
Yeah. thinking
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Thank you for sharing.
about- Okay, so so part of our service, Jennifer, me, Ashay's service, and stepping into growth this year is realizing a dream that we've had for a while now to do something live
Yes.
and in person with whoever wants to show up.
For sure.
So this summer we are working together for the first time to put together a retreat here in the Bay Area. We originally thought it was going to be in September, but we blinked and now it's the end of August, so that's not going to happen. So October, the last week of October,
Mhm.
I think it's the 27th through the 29th, we're planning something here
Live
in the
in
Bay Area live for some soul care.
Exactly.
And then in September on the 29th, which is a Saturday, instead of having an in-person live event, we're planning to do sort of a virtual all-day visioning day. So our call to action for folks is to think about what you what note you want to end the year on.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can, what you're working on, what you're calling in this year.
A way I've said it to like clients is like thinking of yourself like toasting to the new year. If you're like at a meditative, retreat to bring in the new year, you're journaling, like what do you see yourself toasting to or celebrating or, these are the wins of the year. Like what would that thing be?
Yeah, because it's already the end of August.
Yeah, there's time to manifest it, still, and we're approaching it. And that's, what this Saturday event would be is helping you with that.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it would be like, what is it that you need to help manifest it as well, right? So once you get the clarification, then what are the supports, the services needed to help bring that into fruition?
Mm-hmm.
So, and that'd be part of what we would be doing.
Yeah.
Shay has a very powerful visioning process.
Oh.
Discomfort.
You, Jennifer.
You do though. I mean,
Okay.
I have a webinar recorded, and we can just play it. It's like a really good visioning webinar from you.
But we're gonna do it live.
We're gonna do it live.
Bring it to you live. We're bringing it to you
Whoever's
live.
Together.
Yeah.
Together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
So we'll follow up in email after
Stay tuned.
this with that question, so you have some time to think about it.
But
So what's the
definitely
question?
get back.
The question is, what do you want to bring in at the end of the year?
Mhm.
In preparation, for the next year
In
too.
preparation for the next year, and once you've identified that, like what are some things that might get in the way, and how can we and not just us, but like all the women that are part of this community, help bust those blocks and help support you.
Absolutely.
We're
So
stronger
that,
together.
at the end of this year, you can achieve what you're striving to achieve.
What you're called to do.
Called to do.
Called.
Yeah.
Because even just bringing up like all the unrest in the world, I do feel strongly. I feel like we all do, which is why we want to get people from behind their computers and in community, because that is where we really draw strength. But we're talking about what note do you want to end on this year to really propel you for 2018. And I just think we're all being called to step into something bigger, and we do need to be nourished and serving from our overflow and being in service and showing up in a big way next year, just because the planet really needs us now more than ever. So,
So no
100%,
hiding
yeah.
behind your computer.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
just understanding though that, together we're stronger. So we're just trying to do our part, and so that you can do your part, and that we're all in it together. It's really important.
So Sistahs Unplugged.
So Sistahs Unplugged.
Yay.
So if there are no final words, just know everyone who's here, who showed up, your presence was definitely felt and important. So thank you so much.
Yes.
And just stay tuned, for the emails. And hopefully you can definitely attend in September, and then be looking at plane tickets for October so we can hug you and squeeze you alive.
Let us pamper you.
Let us pamper you. So, yay. All right.
Bye,
Have a
everyone.
good night.
Good night.
Bye. I think it's just like, thank you, thank you, thank you.